This video will be touching on the media given to us by Viviziepop. I will not touch or entertain any drama connected to her name in this or any other video. This video will only be about the 2 shows she has given us and to speak specifically on them. That means I will cover the 1 season of Has Been Hotel and the currently 2 seasons of Hell of a Boss at the time of this writing. While I watched them, I have fallen out of the hype over them. I salute you if you still like the series and want to keep watching, but this video just talks about the points I have found fault within the mediums themselves and really nothing else. So, I know that's not like a brand new thing. A lot of people have made their call out post, but I want to get this out of my system, get this out of basically out and done with. So let's get started with the premise of the shows. But before that, really quick, we do have to remember that there is a man behind the curtain and it is easy to point the finger at one person instead of admitting that the machine is kaiju level huge. So while I will be saying Viviziepop, we as the common populace only see the woman in the limelight and not the other parts moving behind the scenes. So viewer discretion is advised. Okay, so we're gonna have to start with Hell of a Boss because that has more episodes than Has Been Hotel, and that's also just how my script is set up. So, the first 4 episodes of the first season are about the premise of the show. What is the premise of the show? According to the pilot, it's supposed to be about these 3 little imps and their dog going on misadventures to do their job of killing sinners topside for the sinners already in hell. And when it came out to us, that was the premise of the show. 3 imps and their hellhound going topside to run errands for sinners. Also, maybe something else is going on with Stolas and Blitz. We'll have to wait and see. That was the premise. The first 4 episodes, like I said, of the first season are about that premise. Then we get a lot of character work episodes, which is fine, but only 1 episode in season 2 is about the original premise of the show itself. I know that many shows change their story, but the audience is usually given time to adjust to the new normal. Great example of this is Adventure Time. Adventure Time starts out as random episodes about a boy and his dog living in this weird world. Then the show becomes this profound narrative about the world after nuclear war and how the mistakes of the past are always present around us. But the change itself isn't from season 1 to season 2. It's from season 4 to the finale. The show is allowed to grow and change. You, the audience, can follow the show through that growth and that change. But Hell of a Boss goes from let's do errands for sinners to the relationship of Blitz and Stolas. Put a pin in that because we will come back to it. If the show were supposed to move from random adventures to the love story of Blitz, then we would have had to allow the story to naturally, progressively get there. But the show's premise was solid, so I liked it very much. It was funny, it was clean animation, and since I have 0 background in animation, I am a simple person to please and I'm not going to touch on the animation. But other people have pointed out the flaws, so you can go watch their videos about it. I'm not going to. The point is, the premise was dropped almost as quickly as it was introduced. Viviziepop has stated that Hell of a Boss is more male-focused, while her other show, Has Been Hotel, is more female-focused. Sure. Whatever. Since she created both, I will take her word for it, but I find that reasoning a little dumb. Let me explain. To do so, we need to transfer over to talking about Has Been Hotel, because this is where I'm really gonna make my points after I explain Has Been Hotel. Has Been Hotel is the centerpiece of Viviziepop's creative empire. Born in a creative void where indie animation wasn't as widespread on YouTube as it is now, this show quickly gained popularity and captured a very broad audience. That dedicated fan base for Has Been Hotel was crucial in sustaining its momentum, while Viviziepop sat out a network to pitch her show to. Eventually, she did. Amazon embraced the series, resulting in the release of all 8 episodes, and blah blah blah. However, the show ultimately failed to meet the overwhelming expectations set by its enthusiastic fans. I'll explain. Viviziepop said that Amazon would give her 15 episodes, and then it got bumped down to the standard 8 episodes. And in those 8 episodes, the show's original premise is hard to find. The hotel used as the main backdrop of this is supposed to redeem sinners, and it's supposed to be like the main crutch of the show. That's what it's built around. And we are not showing that ever, not once. We're showing that the sinners living at the hotel need to get ready to fight heaven if Charlie can't prove her theory. And when she meets the higher-ups in heaven, they admit they also don't know how people make it to heaven, which kind of creates a problem, because before it was, is Charlie's theory plausible, and now it's, is Charlie's theory even worth trying to do when the people upstairs can't even tell her it might be possible. This logic means that the hotel is a solid plan because of the unknowability, and the heavenly officials should let it ride out for a year to see if any sinners progress or even get into heaven. Because of the lack of knowing, the show proves Charlie right that sinners can get upstairs, but they need to mean it somehow, and we don't spend any meaningful time trying to reach that conclusion. We literally get it in the same episode it's introduced. Serpentius dies, he goes upstairs. After the episode prior to this was them basically laughing Charlie out of the room because her idea sounded ludicrous. We spend time on one sinner in the whole 8 episodes. That sinner is Angel Dust. We have a whole episode about how he tries to become a different and better person. Episode 4, right? Obviously, the episode before the finale, so episode 7, shows the fruition of this, but specifically episode 4 is an Angel Dust focused episode. That want of changing is not because he wants to be a good person, but because he wants to escape his pimp, Valentino. I am being so fucking for real and serious right now. I don't mind, like, at all, when it's a character focus episode. And it's not bad to have a whole episode about one character and their personal growth in a show about redemption. But this is the only episode focused on one character and their personal growth, with a secondary episode to follow up the changes that they have decided to make permanent in their redemption story. 1 out of 8. Out of the 8 episode series run for season 1, the Angel Dust episode is done halfway through the season, and the other 7 are about not redeeming sinners or the hotel. It is about literally a bunch of other stuff. I'm gonna break it down. Episode 1 is about the angels coming in a lot sooner than their once a mere murder Christmas musical special. Episode 2 is about setting up villains that do not need so much screen time to be set up for a possible season 2, which Viviziepop said that she got a season 2. So that's neither here nor there. And episode 3 is where the hotel squatters, it's what they are since nobody pays rent, squatters, learn to trust fall and fail. But we can discuss this in detail before the writing section, because there is a writing section in this. My point is that the show has a solid foundation, but it also suffers from too many overarching plot lines that are fighting for time and attention. Both shows also have musical numbers that should usher us through significant plot points that will take up a lot of time, and that doesn't do that. That's like the whole point of a musical, is that the musical number can deliver us information without having to deposit too much time into the show proper about what the musical is trying to convey to us. Here's an example. In the musical Hamilton, the song 10 Duel Commandments takes us through a whole duel in the musical without having to show the whole duel itself beyond the significant points that are super duper important. The songs in Has Been, save for, I think, 2, do not move us through the super important plot points. And that is a problem for a show that claims it is a musical. So here we go. I guess it's time to actually talk about the music. to clarify this for the sake of this being recorded and put on the internet to live forever and ever, amen. I like musicals, I really do. But I find that the music in Has Been Hotel and also Hell of a Boss are fine. Like, they're nothing to really write home about, but they're just not, Lin-Manuel Miranda, let's talk about it for 40 million years a lot. And there is a channel I watch, right? I'm gonna put them up here somewhere in the corner so you could see. She talks about musicals and she explains why the music, specifically in Has Been, is okay, but it's literally not that amazing. And I'll clarify again for this when I say that the songs are good overall, but are like not that great. They're just generally, they don't resonate like Broadway musical numbers do. These songs ultimately reflect Broadway songs designed to guide us through a narrative without sacrificing the plot or time for the music or the plot. So join me on this walk. Broadway musicals have captivated audiences for over a century with their unique music, dance, and storytelling. And here are some main appeals of a Broadway musical. The immersive experience, the emotional connection, the fact that it's a live performance, which, you know what, that's neither here nor there, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. The memorable music and the thought-provoking themes. I understand that because this is a show and it's animated, the live performance section of this, I'm not going to be too hypercritical on, because I can't be. All these other points though, immersive experience, emotional connection, memorable music, thought-provoking themes, these are important, specifically because the immersive experience is designed by nature for Broadway musicals to offer an immersive experience that transports audiences to another world within the story. The elaborate sets, the costumes, lighting designs, they're supposed to create a visually stunning spectacle that draws viewers into the story. In theory, Viviziepop's works are set in hell. We are supposed to be immersed in hell. Every time I watch these shows, it's the shittiest version of LA I've ever seen, and that creates the problem, because that is where it kind of makes you go, I don't think so. It's the shitty version of hell with furries. That's how I always took it, and I know some people don't, some people do. This is all my 2 cents, so do that with this information what you will. The emotional connection, again, Broadway musicals are known for their ability to invoke strong emotions in the audience. The powerful music and heartfelt lyrics resonate with people deeply, allowing them to connect to the characters and their struggles. I guess, not really. Between watching the show and then getting jump scared by the next Viviziepop musical number, again, they're fine. I'm not gonna write home about them. They're not that impressive to me. So the emotional connection is hit or miss depending on if you personally find it entertaining. I kinda don't. Memorable music. Again, I don't think they're memorable. I feel like they're every crappy pop song I hear on the radio by people I don't know the name of, or some TikTok trend. Because Broadway musicals are known for their catchy tunes and memorable melodies. These songs often become cultural touchstones and are enjoyed long after the show has closed. Phantom of the Opera legitimately becomes like a backdrop for a bunch of different stuff. Jesus Christ, they even did Phantom of the Opera with the Pink Pony Club. I'm going to tell you right now, what a wild experience. But Phantom of the Opera is usually one of those, oh, okay. It's the Phantom, got it, cool. That's where you go. It's a cultural touchstone, and that's what you remember before anything else. It also links into the thought-provoking themes. Broadway musicals often tackle complex and thought-provoking themes such as love, loss, redemption, social justice. These themes allow audiences to explore critical issues safely and entertainingly and create a discussion around the insert critical issue here, whatever you want. This is what bothers me about Has Been Hotel. There is no critical thought that goes behind it. Here's my question, right? Because this is the most important question. Why are the angels coming down and exterminating things, because somebody had to have this idea topside, somebody had to approve this idea topside, or at least they should have, and we, the audience, are not in the loop about that, which sounds really cool. Until you remember, Adam and also Sarah don't know the answer to that. They don't know how people get in. Therefore, this creates a roundabout headache of, okay, then what actually makes people go to hell? We're not privy to this information. I won't speculate on it because I honestly, truly just can't speculate on it because it's not really that important. But it is important to the greater context of the shows and also the musicals, is because these should be important. Because again, loss, love, redemption, social justice. Okay, cool. Has-Been Hotel is about redemption. Apparently, Hell of a Boss is about love. Where? I'm being serious, because the influence of Broadway musicals should influence these shows, and so far, it's not. Let me explain the influence of Broadway musicals. Broadway musicals have had profound impact on popular culture. They've inspired countless films, television shows, other forms of entertainment. The music from Broadway musicals has also been widely recorded and performed by artists worldwide. It's also been, presented all over the world in some cases. In addition, Broadway musicals have helped shape the careers of countless actors, singers, and dancers. Many of Hollywood's biggest stars got their start on the Broadway stage. Broadway musicals continue to be a vibrant and, popular form of entertainment. They offer something for everyone, from the spectacle of the big production numbers to the intimacy of the smaller, more character-driven shows. Viviziepop's animated series Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss have gained significant popularity from their unique blend of humor, dark themes, and catchy musical numbers. While the music in both shows is enjoyable, we'll use that word, enjoyable, it has flaws. In this analysis, we will take a fair and critical look at the music of Has-Been and Hell of a Boss by exploring its strengths and weaknesses. Because, I'm going to be honest, every musical has a strength and has a weakness, and that's not a bad thing. But I'm specifically going to be touching on these two because that's what this fucking essay is about. So let's go over the strengths. Number 1, they have catchy melodies. One of the standout features of the music in Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss is its catchy melodies. Songs like Addict and Inside of Every Demon is a Rainbow have become fan favorites due to their infectious tunes and memorable lyrics. I would like to point out, Addict and Inside of Every Rainbow is from the pilot and a spin-off animatic that is not actually about Has-Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss. Neither of these are. Strong vocals, another strength. The vocal performances in both shows are top-notch. The voice actors bring a lot of personality and energy to their singing, which helps elevate the musical numbers, which is good because Viviziepop pays people who make a living off of being able to act and sing. That's a strength, and we'll give it to her. Number 3, creative arrangements. The music in Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss often feature unique and creative arrangements, incorporating elements of jazz, rock, and electronic music. This diversity adds depth and interest to the soundtrack. I have no, backhanded criticism to do with this. That is true. I just don't find the songs to be that memorable or that catchy, but I am man enough to admit that these are their strengths. And now we go to the other side of town. Let's talk about the weaknesses. The lack of story progression is the biggest one. While the musical numbers in Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss are entertaining, they often fail to move the story forward meaningfully. This is particularly evident in Has-Been Hotel, where several songs interrupt rather than contribute to the narrative. Repetitive lyrics. Some of the songs in Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss have repetitive lyrics. This can become tedious, especially in more extended musical numbers. Inconsistent quality is another thing. While some standout songs exist in both shows, a handful also fall flat, and the quality of the music can vary significantly from one track to the next. To sum this up, just to be super duper nice, right? The lack of story progression is the big one, because that's the point of musical numbers. The songs have to get us from point A to point B in the shortest time possible with a fun little song. The repetitive lyrics also make it kind of tedious because at this point, it's a pop song with like a little bit of diversity. And the inconsistent quality doesn't help. Overall, the music in Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss is a mixed bag. While some songs are remarkable, others are not. Ultimately, the music is enjoyable and adds to the overall experience. I'm going to stress that, the experience of the shows, but it could be improved with a greater focus on lyrical variety.
So what are you talking about, Hayla? It sounds like you're just mad that it's not a legitimate musical.
Thank you, random sock puppet I just made up, for placing the springboard I need down so I can get to my next point. I'll explain. We are going to use Epic the Musical by Jorge Herrera. Most everyone on the internet knows this musical about Odysseus and his story. Like, there are so many animatics, it's wild. The story about Odysseus is him going off to war and then getting kneecapped at every moment, and it leads to his being away for 20 years and coming home late. That's the real short synopsis. This makes the man who does make it back a very different monster from the man who left, and that is a sticking point of the musical. Sitting and listening to the musical, you can hear how he changes from one song to the next, from one album to the finale. The musical takes us through the whole story and the whole arc of Odysseus. This story is not a big name, big budget musical, but it holds itself to those standards. Each chapter of the musical gets us from one central plot point to the next central plot point without having us to sit through the original story, which is like 20 million words. I'm blowing that way out of proportion, but it is a long story with many moving parts. The musical version of this only touches on the significant plot points to get us through the story, and nothing else. We start at the end of the Trojan War in the first album, then we meet the Cyclops in the second, and the final album is his return home, and the fight between Poseidon and Odysseus is literally in the album itself. That whole thing, right? The last one before the finale, because that's a sticking point, that's a major plot point. Has Been in Hell of a Boss would benefit from adhering to these standards like Epic did. Don't get me wrong, I like the music overall, but I'm an easy to please kind of a person when it comes to music. People on YouTube who are musically inclined by trade have made many videos explaining why the songs are good, but they're not that good. The songs sometimes seem more of an excuse to have the characters assassinate themselves narratively, which is as good as time as any to talk about the characters. Okay, so remember how I told you to put a pin in Blitz and Stolas? This is where that pin comes out. We're gonna talk about it in this section of the video. The characters. So, in the shows proper, the cast of both shows are massive in scope, and all of them were made by Viviziepop supposedly a long time ago, which is fine. I'm a writer. I have my meow meows who can do no wrong, even when I know how I wrote them to be, well, in the wrong. But a mark of a good story is also knowing that every single little emotion that you feel as the author towards your little meow meows that you wrote doesn't mean that the audience of your work will, number one, care, and number two, is not oh so vital to the story and oh so invested like you are. And that is the main problem of these stories, or at least as far as I can see. In Has Been Hotel, we are shown a lot of characters, up to 15, that are not only voiced, but are also given screen time. This is an 8-episode show, and 15 characters is almost excessive with how much we must juggle between all 15 of them. And we must provide the characters living in hotel their screen time, because that's the main focus of the show. Right off the bat, that's 7. Before you say, no it's not. Charlie, Baggy, Husk, Angel Dust. Nifty, Alistair, Serpentius. 7. And then we have all of the Heaven crew, which is 4. Well, technically 5. But 4 to 5. So it's Sarah, Emily, Adam, Lute, and Lillith. Lillith is technically a 5th one, but we don't meet her till the end. So, 4 to 5, right? And Lillith doesn't have screen time. Fine, 4. Still there, it still counts. Then we also have to let all of the Overlords of Hell have their time, but only 3 of them are actually important. Well, technically four. 4 of them are actually important. We have the V's, that's 3, and then we have Carmilla Carmine, that's 4. Do you see what I mean? We have so many different storylines to juggle, which means the hotel redemption story has to share screen time. A cast that large isn't a bad thing if the proper time is given to flesh out everything that Viviziepop thinks we have to see and let the story progress as its own pace. 8 episodes is not enough time to tell a story. And TV and, well, actually just any medium that is visual suffer from this 8 episode limitation. Because you're trying to boil down a story to 8 30-minute episodes or just hope for one extra long movie like Dune in order to convey whatever it is you're trying to say. Now, some people get mad and they're like, well, not everything is 30 minutes. Okay, fine. I'll walk you that up here. Let's say 40 minutes. That's still not enough time. This is not to say that it couldn't have been done, but I feel that, personally, the story should have been trimmed and hyper-focused on the hotel redemption parts instead of everything that we got. That means that a lot of, well, all of it, would have been left by the wayside for season 2, like the Overlords and the Heaven section of the story we already have. Hell of a Boss suffers from this bloating as well. Bloating is a good word. Where Has-Been is beholden to shareholders, Hell of a Boss is beholden to fans and the Patreon that keeps it alive. This means that Hell of a Boss technically doesn't have to have the same limitations as its counterpart. It means that the series can be long or as short as Viviziepop wants it to be, and that the episodes would follow those same rules if she wanted it to, specifically for Hell of a Boss. So if she wanted a 6-hour episode, she could do it, but that isn't the point. She could have spaced her story out, plotted the shift from the romance drama that was Blitz and Stolas, and gone from there. I'm not opposed to stories changing. Like I said, Adventure Time did it, regular show did it, even Star Forces The Versus of Evil did it poorly, but they still did it. That's the point. If you're going to subtly shift your story from this to that, then I, as a member of the audience, would like you to shift me from point A to point B without literally shoving me down the stairs. The fans are keeping the Wheels movie on, specifically Hell of a Boss on YouTube. Amazon and Has-Been are held to a different set of rules. I asked a friend who works in TV production, because they were the only person I could ask because they knew this. So I am taking their word as gospel. I'm not saying it, somebody who works in the industry does. Hi, Mark. They told me if the shareholders and the higher-ups who pay for the show, like actually pay for the show to be on the air, they're stingy. They will not pay 1 penny more than is needed for the show to be done. And that is not a threat. That is a promise. So if they tell you you've got 8 episodes to get your story from point A to point B and make it good enough for people to come back for our season 2, you better do it. And they're not going to pay for better animation. They want it done yesterday. So Has-Been has to move at breakneck speeds for plot points because shareholders and higher-ups demand it to be done 4 weeks ago before you even show up in their office. Because that's just how they work. This is a problem across the board, where art is being produced at inhuman speeds, causing artists to suffer physically and specifically in their craft. Mostly physical though, right? They're burning out. And I am not blaming Viviziepop for the time constraints. However, I believe she should have focused on only her most critical plot points for the show and allowed season 2 to be where she added everything else. Her show's reoccurring theme is that the cast is dummy thick, but the timing is anorexic thin. What I mean by that is there's too much happening for as little episodes we get for her major emotion networks, and then also has the same problem in her other series. I understand she's very, very, very proud of all of her characters. What creative person isn't? But I also know that she made a comic for Has-Been. If the show and all of her creations are oh so important, she can tell and promote those other parts of the story in a comic format, her fans would be more than willing to purchase it from her. They did that with Avatar: The Last Airbender. There were follow-up comics to the end of the original series because they knew that the fans would love it. I know why she does this. Of course I know why she does this. And this will be my little tinfoil hat moment, so take this with a big old salt lick. But I think she does this because she wants to show us all the relationships every person has had in the narrative. Let's take a look specifically at Blitz. We meet at least 3 people from his past, all of whom he either was sleeping with or wanted to sleep with. Those 3 are Verosika, Fizz, and Stolas. Like I said, the pin comes out in this section. Plus the Halloween party of every person he's ever had a relationship with, and subsequently, he was such a dick to them they make a whole Halloween party of wanting to murder him. We don't need to know about the whole party. We don't need to see all of these 3 failed situationships all at the same time. We don't. In Has Been, this isn't as pushed onto us, but it is given a passing nod at best. We don't need to know or see every Overlord in the season. Still, we spend time with them and we get vague understandings of their tense connections, antagonistic tendencies with each other, or just that they see each other once in a blue moon and don't even really know each other's names sometimes. If Viviziepop wanted us to be super mega invested in all of these complex relationships, then she should focus on them, but she should figure out what her story is, and once that's pinned down, then focus on those characters and their arcs and their relationships. Because I'm going to be completely honest with you, her relationships in all of her shows, kind of, for real, massively, well, they're not good. Okay, so this might be the part of the video that upsets everyone, assuming you even make it this far into the video. Viviziepop only really knows how to create drama in her show's relationships. I know that sounds like a stretch, but I am serious when I say this. It's not an unfounded accusation. In both of her shows, there is more drama than resolution per episode. That is fine, but a resolution does need to happen for it to be a relationship and not a situationship. A great example is Moxie and Millie in Hell of a Boss, along with Stolas and Blitz. Let's tackle the lesser of 2 evils first, before we even get into the other one. In the show, Moxie and Millie are married and are very much in love. This is good. So what do we actually know about them at this current venture before season 3 or season 2 respectively of Has Been a Toe / Hell of a Boss? Well, we know that Moxie loves musical theater and is good with guns. He's the son of a mob boss and he's the team's punching bag, except for his wife because they love each other. We know that Moxie is bisexual since it's mentioned in the episode where he goes back to visit his mob boss father. And that's like a really weird sticking point. That is another thing in this relationship section that I need to bring up. It's weird that both Moxie and Millie had the same ex-boyfriend, but it's only focused on as a Moxie episode instead of also it being a Millie episode. I'm just gonna leave that there because we don't have time to talk about it, and I also didn't write in this script. So let's actually talk about Millie, since that episode didn't talk about Millie. What do we know about her? Well, she's from the Wrath Ring, born and raised on a farm. She has a high kill count and used to be a hired assassin before Blitz hired her to work for him. By her own words, she and Blitz are good friends. And the last episode of season 2, she's also now pregnant, which means she might soon be a mom. Oh, she's also trying to reconnect with her sister. That's a cool point. That's it. That's really all we know about Millie. And we know more about Moxie than we know about Millie in 2 seasons. Don't get me wrong, writing is more art than science, but after 2 seasons, we, the audience, might need a little more than what we have for Millie. And the episode everyone likes to dunk on, Unhappy Campers, shows how the drama to relationship ratio is skewed more towards drama than anything else. Because while the episode tells us that they settled their argument, nothing really came from that. It seems like every episode somehow equally resets the status quo all the time, while also not really resetting the status quo. Because while the episode tells us that they settled their argument, did they? Because, like, Millie still doesn't get a lot of screen time. Millie was never given more screen time to grow, and we, as the audience, get set back to the status quo before unhappy campers, except in relationship to Blitz and Stolas' relationship. And that is the central thesis of the shows. It follows the star versus the forces of evil formula, where shipping is the main focus instead of a good story. Don't get me wrong, it's a way to keep people invested because they want to see if their ship becomes canon, but like, I honestly don't care about shipping. Ship who you want. I want a story that's good and has resolution. Blitz and Stolas are like the primary problem, too, with this dynamic. They are the main antagonist for children with the headache of the situationship in these shows. They literally are the problem because their relationship starts as a favor for favors kind of a deal, sex for the magical book to get to Earth, that is meant to stay in the show, right? That was the whole premise of the show way back like half an hour ago. But that starts to change when they get to Lululand, which is fine. That is the first glimmer of a change in the status between them, which is a good way to get us, the audience, invested in their potential relationship. And it's not done well at all by the time we get to the end of season 2. Stolas always speaks down or around Blitz. He speaks past him, and Blitz is honestly no better. Then we get the scene where Stolas thinks Blitz is asking him out on a date, which also blows up, because Stolas is reminded that he and Stella are still, like, technically married, and that his daughter doesn't really like Blitz because she doesn't really like anything because she's a 17-year-old girl. Hello? Listen, if I keep listing everything, this section is going to be so much longer than it really should be, and it's already a long section, so we're just going to go with it. They have more drama per episode than they have at their relationship per episode. Long story short, these two act like that middle school couple who would break up on a Friday, complain about it all weekend long, and then we'd be back together come Monday morning. If you never had that, I envy you. I really do. It is exhausting. And don't think I won't use has-been in this section, because I am going to, because it's not just Hell of a Boss that has this issue. Charlie and Baggy also fall into a weird relationship. We are shown and told in the show that they are girlfriends and love each other. Fine, cool, whatever. Solidarity. But then we're also told that an old thing from the pilot, which I think started out as a fan theory, but don't quote me on that, becomes like the main status quo. People had the fan theory of Vaggie as an angel because she's got an X over her eye. Okay. Come to find out in the actual show, no, that's a real thing. Why? You made Vaggie a sex worker in the past, whatever. It's not my show, it's not my writing. But making Vaggie a fallen angel who kept that secret from Charlie throughout the relationship is a massive oversight on the tone that we're trying to set. That massive oversight is a lie so huge that it should have been a plot all on its own. But the lie is taken care of in less than 2 episodes. Charlie learns about the lie and gets over it all in collectively 40 minutes. 2 episodes, 40 minutes in total out of the 60-minute runtime. And I don't mean 40 minutes with nothing between the reveal and the resolution, right? There's the whole Cannibal Town thing and blah 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 and the Carmilla Carmine song, which I don't think is a good song, but we already talked about the music. So that's what I mean, right? Other stuff happens in between it, but if you were to just slam it all together to make it one long cohesive story, it's like 40 minutes, which is not good. Again, the drama is more significant than the relationship, which is a symptom of the writing. Put a pin in that because that's the next section. Let me finish bitching on this section. The reason why I say that she doesn't write her relationships well is because every relationship, even the ones that are non-romantic, have this issue. Stolas and his daughter, Octavia, are the best example, and also Lucifer and Charlie are another example of the estranged father with their teenage to mid-20 adult daughter. Why? We know why Stelis and Octavia don't talk now, where the current season is because she assumes that he, Stolas, is going to leave her mother, Stella, for Blitz. Fine, cool. She's 17. She's only known her parents. It's a well-founded fear. Until you really start to dig deep into it. Girl, you're 17 and these two act like every conversation is a WWE SmackDown. What are we doing? Have you just been blissfully ignorant? It brings up too many questions that realistically just don't go anywhere, and it makes it really hard to empathize. I have sympathy for her because it's really hard when parents get divorced. I am not a child of divorce, so I am saying this as somebody who doesn't know, but I've heard that it's terrible. I don't know. That's where the estrangement is coming in, and like it would make sense if it shows that anything. Because when we first meet Octavia, her and Stolas seem to be buddy-buddy. Okay, what changed? What happened? We're never told what changed or what happened. Her getting older? Her being a teenager? I don't know. But the estrangement makes no sense. The same thing happens with Lucifer and Charlie in Hazbin Hotel. What caused the estrangement? Because according to all of the photos we see throughout the entire series, they were a really happy family, and then all of a sudden there's this weird estrangement. What happened? You, as the writer, you, as the executive producer, need to tell me, the audience member, what is happening. Because I don't know. I'm asking you. You have to tell me. I can assume the sky is blue in your world, but if you come back later and they get mad at me for assuming that and the sky is magenta, whose fault is that? It's you, the writer's fault. You didn't tell me the sky was magenta. I assumed it was blue. The writer is in the wrong. I'm not saying that Viviziepop couldn't make her stuff sound more believable and more credible. What I'm saying is there's so much missing in all of the relationships. We're just going to go all the way back to Moxie and Millie because that's how I started this section. Moxie and Millie are married and are very much in love. Cool. That's our starting point, right? That's where we start. The end point that Vivzie wants us to get to is the end of season 2 where Millie now finds out she's pregnant. Cool. So we have point A, point Z is the pregnancy. From point A to point Z, we the audience have to see their relationship progress. What do we know? Well, you know what? We're just going to put point X, right, as the, I don't know, the almost getting to the pregnancy part, right? We're a founded fear because Millie looks nervous, right? I'm interpreting that from what we've seen. Millie looks nervous finding out that she is pregnant, and we don't know if it's because, if it's her line of work, which would be reasonable. If it's because they don't have the money to raise a baby, another reasonable thing. Is it because they never planned to have kids and now this is something they're going to have to contend with? Also another thing that could be brought up that would be really good. This needs to go here in this section because from X, Y to Z should be, these are the fears that they are having, specifically Millie, about having a child. Y would be them having a discussion and making a decision in regards to this future possibility, and Z would her finding out the pregnancy is real, and them being left on a cliffhanger of, okay, so what do we do now? So, what are we doing for A through all the other letters? Because that's important. Well, let's go through it, because I have written this out, and it's gonna bother me. So, point A, right, is they are very much in love and blah, blah, blah. Cool. So what's plot point B? Plot point B would have to go to the very next episode of the show. Not the pilot, the first episode, and then the next episode. The next episode would have been, I don't know, because I didn't double check, and I'm not going to check now because it's not really that important. The point is, they're very much in love. Cool. Episode B should be showing how they express and show this love for each other, which we are. I'll give Viviziepop this. We are given information on this. Moxie is good with guns, like I said, 12 minutes ago when this section started. And Millie is really good at hand-to-hand combat. That's good. They complement each other with their fighting styles. A to B. We've done it. Good job. Now we have to get from point C to point W, because XYZ is the lead up to the pregnancy reveal at the end of season 2. So W is where we need to land now because XYZ has been taken care of. Follow me on this. We're on C. How do we go from point C to point W? Let's keep going. Point C should be the part of the relationship where if there are cracks in the relationship, we should start to see it a little bit. Well, how? Well, Moxie really likes musical theater and Millie doesn't. Okay, cool. That's one. Name a second one. Unhappy campers. Nope, that's not a point C thing. We've skipped ahead. We've gone all the way to O. We're still on point C. The musical theater thing should be where the cracks start to show, where Millie is not really into it, but she tolerates it because Moxie really loves it. That's the thing. Okay? That's where the small cracks start to form at point C. So we, the audience, can see that they are well-rounded characters beyond everything else, beyond each other. What is point D then, if C is the cracks in the relationships? Relationships outside of each other, actually, is point D that relationships should probably be getting to. Other than these two and their co-workers, what other stuff do they have going on, realistically, outside of each other and work? We don't know. Because so far, we're told that Millie has a big family and she's trying to reconnect with her sister. Cool. What about Moxie? We don't know anything. Collectively, together, it seems like they live in this weird little isolated universe that has nothing to do with each other or even the outside world, which is not healthy. You need to have more relationships beyond who you're married to and who your coworkers are. Friends are important. Sorry, that's the truth of it. So we're already missing a really big foundation. We've kind of have not even a shaky step D in the relationship all the way to Z motif. And that's kind of a problem. Because if we want to get to Z of this is an important next milestone, then we're not getting there. We've barely covered ABC. We can't get to D because there is no D. So what do? This same thing can also be applied to Blitz and Stolas, and also even all of the non-romantic relationships therein. There's a roadmap to relationships. Like I said, writing is more art than it is science, but the art is supposed to make sense, more or less, because if it doesn't, then there is an issue. It's the reason why... Wow, I can't believe I'm going to bring this all the way back to there. Nope, we'll do it. The romance TikTok thing, right, for the books, the romance book TikTok, is blowing up. And there's a reason why it's blowing up. Is because basically, guys are getting mad that girls now have access to their porn that they have to read. I know what I said. I'm not going to move off of that hill. And I have unfortunately decided to pick up one of these books and read it. It's not good. But that's not kind of the point though, right? The romance TikTok genre isn't for good stories. It's girl porn. You read it. That's the point. So then why am I bringing it up here? Well, because if you want a traditional romance story, you have to go for traditional romances. If you want a hot and heavy sloppy toppy, we ain't got time to talk about it, you pick up a TikTok romance book. That's the difference. And that's kind of the main thing. If I want to have Pride and Prejudice, I need to go to the land of Pride and Prejudice for my well thought out, well-meaning romance stuff. If I want my slappy toppy in the back of the alleyway, fuckfest, I have to go to TikTok romance. And I think that's the part where is really tripping Viviziepop up. All of her romances, all of her relationships in here read and flow like we, the audience, don't have time to think about this beyond the surface level, because if we do, then we're gonna break the bank. Okay, cool. I have the time for it. It's the whole reason I showed up. So you need to entertain me, not the other way around. It's the reason why the Has Been Hotel fandom kept the whole entire thing alive, because they were over here making fan theories, connections to stuff, explaining things. They went to the art of, I want the Pride and Prejudice rules. And then we didn't. That's why this video is literally called Viviziepop's fanfiction series. Because it is. It's fanfiction. And it's not even good fanfiction. It is fanfiction written by somebody who has class in the morning. And I'm saying that derogatorily. I've written fanfiction by 15-year-olds on AO3 who are sitting over here crafting amazing plot lines. But I think that's what's making this so aggravating. These could be amazingly good shows if something in the writing changed, if something in the dynamics between the characters changed. And I don't think that we're going to ever get that because, well, it is a symptom of the writing. And I can admit, I don't know if it's because of how streaming services operate anymore, or if it's just because people have the attention span of a meth-addicted goldfish. I can't say. But I do know that we do need to talk about the fact that Viviziepop is not a good writer. Because that's the next section of this video. God save me. Okay. I'm going to be very super mega uber generous with this section of the video. Because I have to be. Because I am a writer myself. And I'm not published, right? I really want to be. But that takes a long time. Please see Lindsay Ellis's video. Because it is a long time. What I'm getting at is, because I'm a writer, I need to be uber generous in this section. Because I understand writing is hard. So, keep that in mind going through this section. I find the writing in Has Been and Hell of a Boss to be basically at the bottom of the barrel. It's nothing extraordinary, and it's nothing that's gonna, shake up the game and change it. Much like most, if not all, adult animated TV shows. Few and far between are actually worth remembering and talking about. The swearing is a thick coat of unnecessary dialogue choices that it seems like every sentence just has too much of it. Because, well, for every other adult show I've watched, in the past 6 years, this is also a problem. The swearing. The swearing is a massive turnoff. And I'm saying that as somebody who swears a lot. And I do mean a lot. Brain damage or not aside, because of my MS, I know that I have to be very sparing when I swear, because I have a lot of preteens, teenagers, and kids that hang out around me on the daily. My nieces and nephews. So I can't swear as much as I want to. But even in these videos, I still slip into it because sometimes my brain can't help it. But with these kinds of adult TV shows, the swearing is almost excessive. That being said, Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss both have swarms of writers, some of whom have worked on other shows like BoJack Horseman. But still, somehow, they fall into this trap of too much swearing and not letting moments sit long enough to hit. That's a problem throughout the industry. So I'm not gonna blame Viviziepop 100% for the time of the poor writing and how it just seems to be speedrunning it, but I will blame her for not getting more skilled writers. For example, 9 writers are given credit on Has Been Hotel. One of those 9 is her. 5 of them have worked on other big-name productions. The other 4 writers, and Viviziepop herself, only have written credits for Has Been Hotel proper. I had to go digging through all public knowledge to say this, and I say it with confidence, and if somebody can prove me wrong, please do. So take this with a lot of salt, because I had to go digging and I couldn't find it. Link me or something if and when you find it, because I really want to know. Viviziepop does not have a degree in writing. She has a degree in art. It's wonderful that she has a degree in art, but art does not mean you can write professionally, and it shows. The show's direction will be questioned when the writing crew consists of half fans and the other half of them being professionals. It makes it seem like Viviziepop has an iron grip on the writer's room, and it's her way or the highway. I don't know that, but that's how I read it, with the fact that out of the 9 writers, of which she is one, 4 of them only have written for Has Been and nothing else, and the others are all professionals. This basically means it's kind of not fair to the professionals when everybody else is going with Viviziepop's direction. And that's how I'm reading it. I don't know if anybody else has gotten that feeling. That's what I feel. The writing might also just be how it generally works for adult animated shows. I don't know. It can have swearing, but when every other sentence has at least 4 swear words, it's hard to focus on the show and understand why it needs so much swearing. I swear a lot. I said this before and I'll say it again. I swear a lot. But the show swears so much that sometimes I have to mentally clock out and rewatch the episode because the swearing distracts me from the story itself. Let's get this out before I forget it. There are so many moving parts to running a show that I cannot, in good conscience, place all of the blame on Viviziepop. Like I said, what was this? Like an hour ago almost? Yeah, like almost an hour ago I said I can't fully blame Viviziepop for all the moving parts behind the scene, because that's just not fair to her. For the record, the story has the potential to be so good, but the writing sprints for the finish line. Every single episode, it sprints for the finish line, leaving us, the audience, feeling unworthy and untrustworthy? Yeah, untrustworthy. Unworthy and untrustworthy in equal measures to come to our own conclusions about the narrative. I got 2 examples from both shows to make this point really stick. Again, this is for my own purposes. If you still like these shows, cool deal. I don't care. I have fallen out of love with them. And I've fallen out of love with them because I find too many flaws in them that I can overlook anymore. So, this is just that's the whole point of this video. I couldn't get over some of the flaws. I'm gonna bitch about it. Here are the 2 examples that I found from both shows, both Hell of a Boss and Has Been. Let's start with Hell of a Boss. In Hell of a Boss, we learn that Blitz has a sister in rehab. We learn that she checked herself out of rehab, and that Blitz is looking for her. An incredible plot point right there. Oh my god, that sounds like an incredible plot point. We also learn where she is and why she didn't tell Blitz anything about her leaving rehab and getting a job to take her out of hell and basically work topside. She got a job out of the country. That's the nice way of saying it. All of this happens in the same episode, and we are not allowed to follow Blitz on his journey and find out all about this because the Unhappy Campers episode is also about Moxie and Millie fucking around in human summer camp. It's very much a why? Why is this in the same episode? This is shown outside of romantic relationships too, because it boggles the mind. Here's the other example. Stolas and his daughter is a great example of this, right? We are told that they have a lot, or at least a little bit of a loving relationship, and it fell apart as Octavia got older, like I said in the last section, right? Because teenagers think their parents are cringe by default. That's not a new staple statement, right? That's as common as fucking dirt. But we are told this in the show, but other than Lululand and the finale of season 2, we're not really shown the fact that they have a tense relationship, because we're never given time with Octavia and Stolas. We're given time with Stolas and Blitz, but Stolas' other relationships seem to fall by the wayside. Because Stolas is always gagging after Blitz and speaking about his affair partner any second that he gets the chance. And before the shippers come at me, that is what Blitz is. He is an affair partner prior to the divorce being finalized. Between the lack of romantic situationships, the shows have a problem with letting us figure out mysteries on our own. We are dragged from setup to conclusion in the same episodes. Because we are not allowed to, it seems, enjoy these shows. Which again, is a writing problem. And okay, here's the thing, right? I say this not because I feel like the writing can't be improved. Oh, writing can always be improved. Writing is rewriting. But it's very aggravating when both shows do this, especially in Has Been Hotel. Has Been Hotel has this plot point too. Estranged daughter from her father. Mysteries that we're not allowed to think on for more than 7 seconds. I feel like a crazy person because I had to rewatch both series like 6 times because I do not know or understand why the estranged father-daughter relationship is happening in either of these. And I don't know why the show doesn't think I'm smart enough to come to the conclusions of anything. The show makes it a point to show us, the voyeuristic audience. That's what everybody is when you're watching a show. You are the voyeuristic audience member. You get to know things that nobody else in the show gets to know. Voyeurs. Stalkers. I don't care what adjective you're going to pick. That's what's happening. We as the voyeurs in these audiences know things before the characters do. But if it's going to be, this is a mystery plot point, that means our limitation has to be that we don't know the answer immediately. Somebody has to come to that conclusion over the course of an episode, or 2, or 3, or 4, or if it's a mystery show, the whole fucking series. But we're never given that. Why are they estranged? Why are we not allowed the mysteries? I don't know. And that's the problem. Specifically, in Has Been Hotel, one of the main writing points is that somebody has killed an angel that nobody has ever done before. This is a big, super huge deal. And then they tell us, like in the same episode that this mystery is introduced, same episode, introduced, answer given, same episode, in like the span of 4 or 5 minutes, which is annoying and aggravating, and it's super, super tiresome. Which is fine. It's fine. It's not fine. It's really not. Let's go backtracking a little bit before I get completely off point. The Stolas and Octavia, Charlie and Lucifer parallel is very important. We're not told why the estrangement happened, like I keep saying. Specifically for Charlie and Lucifer, though, it's very confusing, because in the pilot, we are told in the pilot itself, verbatim, when Charlie calls her mother and it goes to voicemail, that Lucifer does not believe in Charlie's dream. Most parents don't believe in their kids' dreams. That's like a staple of being a parent. But Charlie proving him wrong would have been an amazing plot point. Instead, he's just weird and estranged from her because reasons. I don't know the reasons why. Do you know the reasons why? Tell me the reasons why if you think you know the answer, because I sure as shit don't. But that isn't the point of these relationships in the shows, especially with Stolas and Octavia. What is their relationship? We're told what the relationship is, and then we're told something else, but what we're given isn't what was said. Pick a struggle. They're shown to us at a surface level and then told that the relationship is not as good as we are shown. Like, I'm being serious. We need to pick a struggle and stick with it. Both with the relationships and with the mysteries that are not even allowed to be figured out by the audience, which is a writing problem. Has Been has this problem. Hell of a Boss has this problem. What is the mystery? Well, the mystery is, insert mystery here. Who killed the angel? Well, we get told the answer to that. What is the mystery in Hell of a Boss? Hell of a Boss is... Well, I wish I knew what any of the mysteries in Hell of a Boss were, because if there were any, we're not given time to really even sit and think about it, so I might be wrong on that, but I feel like I'm not. Like I said not that long ago, I wish that these were one-off hiccups, but it's not. The world building has also been a problem within these shows, and before you sit there and tell me, no, the world building has never been a problem, I swear to God, the world building has been a major problem in both of these shows, because with Hell of a Boss being the sister show to Has Been, that means this is all taking place in the same universe, more or less. This means that we, the audience, should know the rules of this world and how the rules do and don't work. But we're never actually told how they do and don't work, and I can prove it. That's why in this next section, I am going to have to stop myself from screaming. Okay. This section, in case you weren't paying attention to the transition, is it's hell. Why are there so many rules? I had to take a 2-day break from writing this script before I even came back to this section, because I had to really calm myself down and not go crazy about it. So, just so you're aware of what I had to deal with. Not that you care, I'm making it a point to tell you the mindset I had to go in with this. The idea that hell works on a social hierarchy works really well in a narrative structure. It really does. I'm being serious. It's a well-formed structure for how it's supposed to be set up. The idea that you rank higher in hell based on your power makes sense. It's just why the Goetia demons are mind-numbingly stupid to the narrative. I am so fucking for real. Like, At this point in the story, the Goetia are nothing more than middle management at the dollar store. Follow me. The 7 deadly sins running the rings of hell? That makes sense. The overlords being human sinners who are cruel to each other and other human sinners for shits and giggles? Makes sense. But demons should be whoever gets more kills or people working for them. Whoever has more magic is more vigorous, more important. That would make sense. That should mean that they rank above the overlords because the human souls in hell respawn like it's a fight in a Dark Souls game. It's really kind of stupid. But the rules in hell just keep building up. Hell has so many rules that it almost doesn't make sense in a show as tone deaf as Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel. If we are told in the show that hell has all these rules because someone in heaven made it so, then it might make more sense. But we are not told this. We are simply told that there are a lot of rules, which makes sense if the world is supposed to work around it, but it doesn't. Hell has so many rules that it honestly makes me wonder why. Like in Has Been, the overlords rule over other sinners by having them sign over their souls. How the hell, badooch, how the hell does that work? Being dead would mean that the soul of a damned person is no longer on the table to be placed as collateral for any bets or deals made. It's defunct. It's not even a non-liquid asset. I got $3 in not money that is viable in the country I live in. That's basically what this amounts to. So how do you get a soul when those souls have been sent to hell? The extended warranty has been expired on them. That's what I mean. We're never told, but somehow people are allowed to buy and sell their souls that are already damned? What? In Hell of a Boss, we're told that Stolas needs a child to continue the bloodline, and he was given an arranged marriage. Okay, sure, that makes sense if other demons want to, kill you and stuff. Arranged marriage, have kid, backup, blah, blah, blah. Cool, makes sense. But then why hasn't Octavia also been promised to someone in the show? Her mother was promised to Stolas when she was 9, 10 years old? Octavia is 17 in the show itself, and we are never told about her needing to marry someone to continue the bloodline. If this is such an essential rule for the Goetia, why has it not come back up in the narrative with the next in line for the title that Stolas holds? I have my idea of why, but, I can also admit that sounds petty, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This arranged marriage bull honky for the Goetia is only a plot point of convenience when it needs to be brought up, but it's not actually enforced unless it has to for the necessity of the plot, meaning this only exists when I say it exists. Until it doesn't exist, then it doesn't exist. That's what it is. I would not be tripping over this if it wasn't such a significant thing in both shows. In Has Been, the angels can change the rules whenever they want. Example, Adam moving up the next extermination day on a whim, and other example, see Hell of a Boss for learning about how and why Blitz got the book and not being like, Stolas, why not just file the paperwork to have them work under you to kill mortals to turn a profit? That sounds pretty evil. But it's treated like this huge problem that Stolas sent lesser demons topside to do evil things. Are you so freaking serious right now? Asmodeus sends succubi, lesser demons than him, to go topside to do evil. What is the difference? He's a Goetia. Does he just not have the ability to do anything? It seems like it, because the rules are not the issue in the world. The issue is the writing of the world and having these rules at all. J.K. Rowling did this in her world. As a quick aside, I do not support that woman, and I have never read Harry Potter because I thought that book was dull as piss, and I have never finished them. I'm sorry, but follow me, since I cheated and had a friend explain this bullshit world to me because I was not going to suffer through that many movies and that many books. I'm sorry, I wasn't. J.K. Rowling did what is known as soft world building, so she could make up rules as she went along. That's smart. If you don't have concrete rules, you make up soft world building and make the rules as you go along. The problem is that the rules changed from one book to the next, and if she tripped over them, then she had to find the most absurd escape room logic to get out of having to explain how and why the rules she broke were meant to be broken in the first place. And just so people don't think I'm making stuff up, the time turners, the separate houses, and what amounts to a boarding school in England, the elves being used as slave, and so many other examples I don't want to write out in this script, because, again, I don't know enough about J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter world to make a whole video about it. There. We don't support her. This is an example. The world was fine with the rules, but by breaking them, they are forced to look into them on a deeper level, which is what is happening in these shows. Why are there so many rules if so many of them mean nothing at the end of the day, when the newest episode might as well not need to have them at all? I'm not saying this as a way to say that soft world building is terrible or that strict world building is better. I am saying this because it's important to make note of the fact that soft world building comes with its own set of bylaws. If you make something law into the world, like, oh, I don't know, people that have magic are called this, and people that don't have magic are called this, and the child of somebody who does and doesn't have magic is called this, it makes sense. When you make up so many other words to describe this, it kind of falls apart. But once a rule is made for your world, there had better be a good reason why that rule is broken and how it affects the story going forward. If the rules are so important, they need to be sent into the ether and made God level important, as in, you're God, you have better, make it important. These need to be set up to impact both sides of the aisle in the world you're building. Example. In Hell of a Boss, the imps and cherubs both have this gig of going down to earth and helping the sinners and blah blah blah, the human-born, right? That's a thing. But then we're told that the imps need human disguises. Okay, that makes sense, except no it doesn't, because the cherubs don't need human disguises. Why? Do you see what I mean? In Has-Been, we're told that there's all these rules for how the sinners are meant to operate, but this doesn't apply to anybody else that lives in hell, which seems dumb. It really does. Are the demon-born not immortal to anything but the angel? Do you see what I mean? If both sides of the aisle are not affected by this world, then it kind of makes you go, okay, but why are these rules for thee but not for me? And we know for a fact that heaven doesn't have, it seems, any kind of rules. And I mean that, I had to look and fight myself to, not gaslight myself on the rules of this world. Because apparently, that's not a thing. And before you think I'm messing with you, I'm not. So let's talk about heaven. Okay, so the only rule that heaven seems to have is to not kill humans. How do people get into heaven? That's a plot point in Has-Been Hotel. Why do the angels leave behind their weapons at all during the extermination? Shouldn't they be immune to regular sinners and thus not need weapons and or armor? Good questions. Me, while I'm recording this, and also the person who wrote this script, these are great questions. It's also in Has-Been that all of these questions pop up. Hell of a Boss doesn't really have this problem, because the only rule that heaven is not to kill humans comes from Hell of a Boss, not from Has-Been Hotel. And since Has-Been Hotel is the progenitor, meaning they came first before Helva did, that's where all these questions should be answered. Another question that I have, why do the demons need to look human when they go topside when we're shown that most humans, number one, don't care, and number two, don't seem to know what demons actually really look like? Because Blitz and his crew get away with, let's be really realistic, 3 kids in a trench coat levels of disguises. I wish I knew, because they never answer it in either of these shows. Great example, Adam is asked point blank, what gets a person into heaven, since he was technically the first person to get into heaven? And he doesn't know. Put a pin in this, right? The whole Adam being the first person that goes in, because I'm going to circle back around on the next section to why this is not okay. No one knows how or why to get into heaven, which is good, because Hell of a Boss plays it that if somebody is upstairs already, they can get you in if they have enough clout up there, which I'm like, huh? Okay, cool deal, whatever, it's not my show. It's a cool plot point that we could explore, but we don't. Again, this boils down to the writing. It's your world, you can do anything you want, and as long as you, the writer, know the answer and explain it to the audience in some way, shape, or form, you can do whatever you want. It rains chocolate milk on Sundays. Why? It's in the script. Sorry, it's in the writing. And if the answer is being a good person by not killing someone, or even if the answer is getting into heaven is by being a mega gooner at 30 minutes a day, fine. But you gotta tell us that in some way, shape, or form. And that doesn't mean we have to be literally IV drip fed every single thing you say on Twitter. That's not how that works. So long as you, the writer, understand that the answer has to be something we, the audience, are given, that's fine. The writer is tantamount to God, and God made the world, and the world has to have these answers. And I don't mean she needs to add God, and by she I mean Viviziepop. I mean that she needs to have the answers because she is God in this hypothetical scenario. You made God, God has to have an answer to something, even if they're never outright presented to the audience. It boils down to this. Heaven seems to have one rule, and that's all we're told about heaven. It makes the excessive amount of rules in hell even more outlandish when you really start to think about it. Again, this might sound like this whole video I've been nitpicking and bitching on Viviziepop. I know that. But this has been sitting on me since the end of season 1 of Hell of a Boss, before the Kesha episode dropped. Then I heard about Has-Been and thought, well, maybe all the effort went into this and not in Hell of a Boss. That sounded right in my head. And from what I've seen, this isn't true at all. I don't know anything about the animation industry. I don't know how much work it takes to animate, because the few times I've tried it, it really was not worth the effort. My poor hand hurt. I know what it takes to write. Writing is not easy. There are too many behind the scene movements, and there's too many rules and regulations that animation, both indie and regular, seem to have to go through. And since I cannot account for them, and I cannot confidently say that my assumptions are correct, I am more than willing to admit I might be wrong in my criticism. That doesn't mean my criticism doesn't stem from something. It does. My unfounded assumptions are not worth making bold statements on behalf of these shows, since I have nothing to back them up other than what I've seen and what other people have seen with the information we're given. I know how I feel about the indie animation scene, and that's a big part of why I finally wanted to make this video. Because I get it, right? Indie animation is all the rage. All of it is good. Viviziepop literally seems to have started the trend with Has-Been Hotel. It opened up the door for a lot of other people to either finally say, F it, I'll make my own series, or just outright said, you know what, nothing's stopping me, and just went for it. And I think that's really important to bring up, is because while her writing leaves a lot to be desired, that doesn't discount the fact that she did something most people don't do. How many of us have had an idea for this cool webcomic, this cool anime, this cool webtoon, this cool indie animation thing, and then never do it because, well, I couldn't do it? Why? All my bitching about this, I will get to my natural conclusion. But this, the rules of heaven, of which there don't seem to be many, actually there's one rule, leaves a lot of holes in her narrative, and I think that's why it bothers me so much, is because of the holes in the narrative. And also the adding of stuff that seems 100% superfluous. Yes, I'm using big letter words because I'm trying to sound extra special smart. But I can prove that there are certain elements to this that maybe shouldn't have been added. Which, remember how I said we're going to get back to Adam? Well, we're here. Okay, just to be so 100% for real, everything I'm about to say, I'm just going to link the source of where I found it and also all the other jazz that goes with it. Not because I don't think you guys are smart, but because I really want to hammer this home. Charlie's mother being Lilith screams to me of the pop culture, pop literature, westernized occultism, fantasy horror erotica version of Lilith, and is very, very, very much divorced from the actual original Lilith, which is, and I'm just gonna come right out and say it, is a feminine figure in Mesopotamian and Jewish mythology. This means Odysseus is a myth, Lilith is a myth, Hades and Persephone are a myth. That's the point. She was a long since forgotten story explaining stuff. And I'll tell you why this is important. Because the original Hebrew word from which the name Lilith is taken in biblical Hebrew is specifically found in the book of Isaiah, although Lilith herself is never mentioned in any biblical text. From Jewish all the way to Catholic and Christianity, she only shows up as a mythological figure. In fact, most rabbis don't even acknowledge her. They outright reject her existence. And there is a reason for this. Lilith is the first wife of Adam, and she was banished from the Garden of Eden because she's a baby killer.
Great Achilles. Brilliant Achilles. Shining Achilles. Godlike Achilles. How the epithets pile up. We never called him any of those things. We called him the Butcher. And play into your house, into your bed, into your streets, into your drink, into your bread, upon your cattle, on your sheep, upon your oxen, in your field, into your drinks, into your sleep, until you break.
I really need to hammer that home. I understand that the new gatekeep, gaslight, girl boss, manipulate, murder, mansplain version of her is whatever we've got. That's fine, I don't care. But it's the fact that, well, no, that's not at all what's happening. She was never supposed to be this awesome, cool bitch that we look up to and write popular fanfiction about. She was legitimately meant to be a warning, a figure of myth. She's not supposed to be looked up to. Now, I can hear you say, no, it's just a TV show, you're reading too much into it, and I will give you that. The version of Lilith that seems to be predominantly in the has-been hotel version of, well, Lilith, seems to be the feminization and, like, just outright fanfictionification of her, which is fine. I don't care. But it's the fact that Lilith originates from Jewish mythology, not Christian mythology. Whereas Hell is very much Christian mythology. Dante's Inferno is Christian fanfiction about Dante's persona running around through hell, making fun of all the people he hated in life. Sorry, I know that's a really rude thing to say, but that's the truth. It's the mixing of these two that seems to cause the headache? Yeah, there we go. The headache of trying to explain why the show itself often has conflicting interest is because if we're using Lilith as the wife of Lucifer, that's fine. That means this is leaning more into Jewish mythology, and then it doesn't, which then brings up a lot of other questions. Because of course it does. Because what? What are we talking about? Because the way Hell itself is set up is Dante's Inferno, the fanfiction version, the shitty version of LA. That's what it's supposed to be representing. And that's where the problems are coming in. Why is it Dante's Inferno fanfiction version of Hell with the cool fanfiction version of Lilith that has been paraded around for the past 30 years? there's a disconnect somewhere. I'm going to just be 100% honest. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I'm not Jewish. I don't know fuck all about being Jewish, but I do know this much. No. Like, I'm so fucking sorry, but you need to pick your struggle. I understand Lilith being a figure of myth, like, is cool to incorporate into your stuff. That's not a bad thing. But some Has-Been Hotel viewers criticize Lilith's portrayal, finding her actions and motivations unclear and outright uninteresting. And also, some people of Jewish faith, at least on Reddit, right, have outright stated that it seems weird that she's in this show when it's very heavily Christian-based. Which, you know what? I'm more than willing to listen to them, and I'm not going to sit there and say boo about it. But that's my main point. You have to pick your struggles. Because a lot of it seems to be, I want to have everything everywhere all at once in the show. And I know this to be a fact is because, other than Lilith, Alistair is a really great example. Alistair is said to have been black in life, which is fine, I'm not going to sit there and say anything about it. And then also every time he's doing stuff in hell with all of his magic and everything, it's supposed to be voodoo symbols. Voodoo is a closed religion, number one. Number two, voodoo is not Catholic or Christian based, not even Jewish based. So it brings up the question of, okay, what is the struggle we're trying to portray here? Because I'm getting lost. Especially with the fact that Alistair's voodoo heritage, question mark on that, heavily question mark that, seems to only come up at times of convenience. We're never shown anything else of voodoo anything with him. It just comes out of left field. Well, hell, maybe it needs to be done in season 2. Well, okay, sure, fine, whatever, that's stupid, but okay. My point is, the myth of Lilith is fine, it's whatever. But that's also, like, the major problem with it as well, is why is she in here? And I am being super serious. Lilith shows up in heaven in the final episode for all of like 5-10 seconds. We don't need to know who Charlie's mother is in the grander arching narrative. Charlie's mother doesn't have to be Lilith. Charlie's mother can be any person, because that's kind of not the point. If Lucifer needs an heir, the mother doesn't really matter. So, like, is it just because in popular culture Lilith is always Lucifer's wife? Why? Who came up with that? I'm super curious, because in the original myth, she just becomes the ultimate she-demon. That's all she becomes. It doesn't specifically say that she shacks up with Lucifer, which is why it's like one of those, where did this come from and where did it start? Because I know I'm lazy enough, I didn't do enough research specifically on that, because this is coming in after the script has already been finished, because I was trying to figure out how to shove this in naturally and I just couldn't, so we're having this whole entire section just because I said so. And I think that's what bothers me about it. We are not told why so many different religions are fighting for, like, importance, I guess is the best way to say it, in this universe, number one. And number two, it makes less and less sense the more you think about it. Lilith is Jewish myth. Fine, cool, whatever. Why are you here? I am being so serious. Why are you here in this show that is heavily Christian? And I know the answer why. I'm saying this not as like a condemnation, but as I'm getting sick of seeing it. It's because we've made her into a popular commercialized thing that are like, yeah, the ultimate girl boss. Yeah, fight the patriarchy. And it's like, not really. She wasn't fighting the patriarchy. She just literally told Adam straight to his face, either I'm above you or we're entire equals. Which I guess in terms of feminism is what it is, until also she tells Adam, until you listen to me and do what I tell you, I'm gonna kill all of your kids. That's literally something she tells him in the myth, and then she does it, and that's why she was banished. Because, yo, you can demand equality and not kill your kids. There is a line. Again, the myth of Lilith is long and varied and honestly confusing. But Lilith also in this show is confusing. Again, Charlie's mother never needs to be named. It could just be some random person. Why Lilith? I get that she's a really big figure and everything, and the fandom made a really big deal about her, and I guess Viviziepop made a really big deal about her, but again, that circles back, like, almost an hour and a half ago, back to, like, the writing. You need to learn to drown your babies in the baptism water. It's okay. Not everything needs to be put into your writing. I get it. Every little thing comes as inspiration. Something should stay as inspiration and be put down on paper and then not forced to be shoved into works. This is the only part where I'm 100% being sincere in my criticism and not trying to be generous. I feel like Lilith should not have been part of the show, and I feel like her involvement in it brings up too many questions, hiccups, and road bumps that I cannot justify. Therefore, I'm not going to justify it. I'm just being a hater in this section. Boo me in the comments. Okay, that brief tangent about Lilith aside, I really do love indie animation. I know this entire, like, extra long video has made it seem like I have a bone to pick with indie animation, and I don't. I'm in love with the indie animation scene. So many shows have come on to the greater, wider landscape of YouTube that have caught my attention, and not only that, but have caught thousands of other people's attention too. Look at the screen! Or for the people who listen, let me talk about it. I'm just going to talk about it because I'm a yapper with a hard R, so yeah, we're going to talk about it. The Amazing Digital Circus. So many fun episodes, and I'm sure you've watched some of them, if not all of them. The same creator was also in charge of Murder Drones. A fun, well-rounded story. I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl, a show about and made by a woman of color being a magical girl and not being happy with the idea of having to fix problems just because she is a magical girl. That shit sent me. I laughed so hard. Also, that creator is also the one that did, if you're on Tumblr, the Jessie and Ash's mom are dating comic. Super good. I love them. Go check it out. The Art of Murder. That one's also super fun. The Art of Murder is about sketches in an art book coming to life and having to figure out who killed the new sketch their artist made, because the artist has made their first OC, and now that person is gone. Dun dun dun. It's also a musical, but like it moves the plot along, which is important. These shows are fun and bright, and they're not controlled by some big market CEO who has a bottom line to worry about. Also, Lackadaisy, I almost forgot that. Huge fan of that back when it was on Tumblr. A lot of these are actually Tumblr origin stories. I've watched these, and all of them are great. They're good. I don't know if there's a big fan base for them, but they are amazing. I love the fact that the indie scene is so alive with creative talent. So many new and exciting shows have been made because, well, why not? Why not make a show that you're allowed to control and speak your truth? I love the indie scene so much, and I hope all the shows I put up and spoke about go far and get a huge fan base. Because sometimes the big markets just give us the same boring crap over and over and over again, and the indie scene is like, but what if we told you a different story? And that's fun and amazing. And I'm sure that a lot of them got the inspiration to finally do this because of Viviziepop, and if not because of Viviziepop, because of the fan base of her creations being so vocal in how amazing the show that wasn't made by a big studio was. It's amazing to think that people were inspired, and from that inspiration, all these other shows got to be created. It is really fun and it is really amazing, and I hope that this ingenuity and artistic expression keeps happening, because it is fun, and we as a society should demand that our art, our enjoyment of art and entertainment, is allowed to flourish in ways that go beyond the same cookie-cutter mold. Not so far beyond it that we are committing war crimes and several Geneva Convention violations, but, enough that we are allowed to have fun. God, I hope that's true. I hope the dodgeball of Apollo hits me with this. Please let that be a thing. Thank you. Okay, this is the final part of the video. We've done it. We got here. Mazel tov. In conclusion, Viviziepop's creations Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, they present a fascinating study in the potential and pitfalls of indie animation and indie animation creators. The shows are undeniably vibrant, boasting catchy music, distinct character designs, and an ambitious scope. The passion and creativity of the team behind them are evident, and the shows have clearly resonated with a large audience. However, the execution of these ambitious ideas often falls short. Both series struggle with pacing issues, and they often sacrifice plot and development for rapid-fire dialogue and an overabundance of characters that make it really hard to not only keep track unless you're literally hardline into Viviziepop's Twitter, or if you're one of those crazy conspiracy what's gonna happen next YouTube channels. Not knocking those channels, I love watching them, who doesn't? The writing, while aiming for edgy and humorous, frequently relies it relies too heavily on excessive swearing and surface-level drama, which is hindering its deeper emotional engagement that you could be getting from it if it was allowed to take its time pace-wise and breathe. The relationships, intended to be a core strength, often feel more like a series of unresolved conflicts than any genuine connections with each other or with the wider story. The drama consistently overshadows meaningful resolutions that we, the audience, would love to see, but we have to keep stretching it out over and over and over again. Furthermore, the world building in both shows, while imaginative, suffers from inconsistencies and a lack of clear rules. This often leads to confusion and undermines the immersiveness quality of the narrative itself. The stark contrast between the rigid, often arbitrary rules of hell and the seemingly non-existent rules of heaven further highlight these issues. It's important to acknowledge that the significant challenges faced by indie creators, including time constraints, budgeting limitations, and even the pressure to meet audience expectations, can also play a major factor in this, and I'm not knocking that they don't. Viviziepop's dedication to her vision and her ability to build a dedicated fan base are commendable, and I really do mean that. I commend her for being able to keep people engaged in her works. However, for Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss to truly reach their full potential, for greater focus on narrative clarity, character development, and consistent world building is not only needed, but is vitally necessary. Ultimately, these shows represent a fascinating snapshot of the current state of indie animation, brimming with creativity and potential, but sometimes lacking the refinement and focus needed to fully deliver on that potential. While there are flaws, and I do admit that there are flaws, the show's strengths are undeniable, and with continued growth and refinement, emphasis on refinement, Viviziepop's future projects could be even more impactful. The indie animation scene is an exciting and vibrant place, and these shows, despite their shortcomings, are a significant part of the evolution of that landscape. All of this is a very long-winded, wordy way of me to say Viviziepop's creations are in fact really good. Viviziepop herself has worked very hard and very dedicatedly is not a word, has dedicated a lot of her time and effort into her projects, both of which seem to be passion projects, and I am super proud of her for that. Has-Been Hotel got picked up by a major studio. And I don't just mean that like, ha ha, that's so pretentious. I am being serious with that. It is important to understand that this was a thing that was happening, that this is a thing that needed to be done, which is great. That's important. I am so happy that she was able to get her show off the ground, that her fan base was so dedicated that it kept her stuff alive by being able to transfer that creativity and all of it to Hell of a Boss. I am super proud of her for all the stuff she's done. And despite all the drama that surrounds her, which there's so much, I don't even want to get into it, like I said at the beginning of this video, like almost 2 hours ago, it's a lot. It is a lot to ask somebody to make shows like this. People only get the final product of animation, and they think it's easy. I can tell you it's not. Art is hard. Writing is hard. But I do know that if Viviziepop really wanted to refine all of her stuff, she needs to, number one, dedicate herself to either a writing class or get one good writer, right? Like, cut down. You don't need 9 people to write for a TV show. That's an excessive amount of a writing group. Cut a lot of the bloat out. Find really good writers and then let them write. Tell them your story idea. Tell them where you want the story to go. Let them do what they're good at. Viviziepop is obviously good at animation and making characters that are engaging. Let her do that. This has just been a very long video, and I know it's been a long video. This is one of my very rare long videos. I don't like making them this long, because I feel like it's a lot to ask a viewer to sit down for 2 hours and just listen to you yap, right? That's a lot. I know that's a lot. So I don't really like to make these videos, but I felt like this was really important because it's been stuck in my craw for so long. And while I have personally fallen out of love with Viviziepop and her works, that doesn't mean that her works are bad. That means her work reached me for a small moment in time, and I fell out of love with it, and I'm moving on. This is just basically a very long-winded goodbye letter, explaining why I personally couldn't keep watching these, why I couldn't keep enjoying them, and while you, if you're listening and you love these shows, more power to you. I hope that you continue to love this and that these shows bring you joy. I do not find joy in them anymore, and for my own, not even peace of mind, just because I don't give enough of a fuck about it anymore, I am just not that invested. So, here's to you all. C'est la vie. Ciao, bellas. Mwah. Thank you for showing up. I appreciate all of you.